Need to get finished getting set up real quick, and then we're ready to rock and roll. If you're just jumping on here, we're going to be talking about sales today. We're talking about handling objections. So if you have objections that you want me to handle, throw them in the comments, and I will answer them for you. So let's get rocking and rolling. We got 2 people on Facebook or YouTube or wherever you're at, and we got a few on TikTok. So be right back, RG6613. All right, we'll wait for you. No, I'm just kidding. We're gonna keep going, guys. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. If you have objections that you typically get and you don't know how to handle them, you don't know how to respond to them when you're selling your product or service, throw them in the comments, and I will show you how I handle those objections. Hey, what's up, Plumbing Tips? Good to see you on here, man. I appreciate you on here. You're a loyal live watcher. So, guys, in order to get going on this, throw in your questions in the comments. Harness the Power, Derek, thanks for jumping on here. I'm going to grab a drink real quick. A little pre getting started. I may have to bail a little bit early than normal, just because for whatever reason, I don't know why, but I'm starting to feel a little weak, like some low blood sugar or something. I'm not diabetic or anything like that, but it's just feeling a little weird. So with that being said, sales objections. Let's talk about objections. One of the reasons why, let me start over. Objections happen because of one of 2 reasons. One, you haven't answered a concern or addressed, you haven't addressed a concern that they have. That's one reason. The other reason is because you haven't addressed or answered a concern confidently enough. So you may have addressed a concern or a question, but you didn't answer it confidently enough for them, your prospect, right? So understanding that objections are really only 2 things, it gives you some insight into how you can handle objections. If you've ever looked at or seen any type of like landing page or an ad, a Facebook ad or something like that, a YouTube ad where there's like a video or a long form text, really, really good marketers will answer common objections in that video or in that text. So in other words, if I was doing like a Facebook ad for my coaching program, and let's say I had like a 3-minute video, on that ad, I may handle or preface those common objections that I may get. And by doing so, it eliminates that concern, right? But sometimes we don't really know what our specific customer's concern is or what objections they may have. And so we have to ask them in order to find out what that is. And so, guys, if you just jumped on here joining me, if you have, put in the comments your most common objections that you get when you're on your sales calls, and I will answer them for you, how I would respond to those types of objections. And that way I can give you some more direct response than instead of me just guessing, what kind of objections that you may get. I mean, there's always the obvious ones of time and money, but there may be other objections too. So understanding that people typically only have their objections are questions or concerns that have not been answered or answered confidently. Keeping that in mind, it makes it a lot easier to understand that sometimes when people give you an objection, that is a surface level objection. It's not the real reason behind the objection. And so your job is to get below the surface level objection and find out truly what's going on. Harness the Power says they want a price on the spot. So give me a little bit of context. What type of work do you do? Some jobs you can give prices on the spot. I mean, I teach my clients to give prices over the phone before you even go out to their house. So that's like even before on the spot. And it's very easy to do. It's very, very easy to do. There's a lot of misconceptions about sales. A lot of contractors believe that they're good at sales. And the reality of that is that they're not good at sales. They're good at people skills, like getting in front of them and selling themselves in front of the client. But that is not sales, by the way. That's a portion of sales, but that is not what sales is. Sales is effectively communicating, and a lot of people don't know how to do that. A lot of it, even like on social media, we don't use effective communication. It's not normal for us to use effective communication. So I see a couple people coming on here. Appreciate y'all jumping on. Harness the power, Derek. If you could answer that, like what do you do specifically? What trade or what services do you offer? Because I also want to cater these specifically to what you guys do to make it even more valuable for you. So if you could throw that in there, if you're still watching. If not, that's okay. Quick question, where do you think a contractor could find commercial jobs? That I don't know, man. That's one thing I don't do. I don't deal with commercial jobs. So I don't know like a specific place you could go. It's about networking. Everything in your business is networking. Oh, Harness, Derek. Okay. I know you are now, Derek. I didn't know that was your name, Harness the Power. That makes sense now. So yeah, I'll jump into that here in a second, Derek. Back to whoever said that about the commercial. It really depends on what you do, but networking, right? Commercial jobs don't get. You're probably not gonna get a commercial job by throwing an ad on Facebook, by putting stuff out there through conventional marketing strategies per se. Those typically are networking types of gigs. And again, it depends on what you do. I mean, you might do pressure washing, but you do it for commercial. That's a little bit different than if you're a general contractor that builds buildings for commercial, right? Like those are two totally different businesses, two totally different strategies. So there is no like, go do this and you can get commercial business. It kind of depends on what you do. I'll see a couple comments here about Vail and 1010. I don't know what that's in reference to. Yeah. So harness the power, Derek. Benjamin says, many of my leads come from an installer list at a local flooring wholesaler. There is probably 30 names on that list. I get a lot of pushback when trying to get paid for a site visit. So Benjamin, if you specifically to that list that you're talking about, you said you have a list at a local flooring wholesaler, right? What I would do is I'm going to befriend everybody at that local wholesaler. I want them to like me so much that I'm going to be the first person they recommend. Giving someone a list of 30 names may be okay, but I want them to say, here's a list of 30 names, but this guy here is who you probably want to call first, or these 3 people are going to be the top ones to call. The tile company that I used, the tile wholesaler, they had a very similar thing like that. They had a list of contractors, tile installers, tile contractors on a piece of paper that they would give out to people that came in there. And, a lot of times, like I would say, hey, I'm looking for a new tile subcontractor. They'd say, here's the list. And these 3 people are probably who you want to call first. And that was because I knew them on a first name basis. They were, I always joked around with them. I always got to know them. That's the power of networking. So even getting leads with commercial, it's the power of networking. And when you learn how to effectively communicate, it makes that so much easier. So for Benjamin, who says he has a list from the flooring wholesaler that has 30 names on that, your job on that list and that particular company is to get the people there to like you enough that they want to recommend you. And that doesn't necessarily mean bringing them donuts and coffee every week to, quote, butter them up, although that may not hurt. But it's really about connecting personally. People like us. This is a fundamental rule in any type of communication. People like us. So if there's people that come and go on here. At one point a while ago, there were 70 something people on here. Now there's like 8 or 9. A lot of those people will come in because they're like, oh, this guy looks interesting. They click on it. They see me talking for 5 minutes or a few minutes and like, I don't like this guy, and they leave, right? Or it doesn't apply to me. And that's because, maybe my style doesn't appeal to them. But when you're talking to your clients or when you're talking to suppliers and stuff like that, you don't necessarily have to be your true self. You can be the executive communication self, meaning you can use the communication styles to do a better job of connecting. Now, Benjamin, you're in my sales accelerator course that I just launched. And I believe, Benjamin, tell me if I'm wrong. I believe you were the one that was commenting about the different personality profiles. I could be wrong about that, but let me know in the comments if you were the one that was talking about the different personality styles that you were familiar with. It might have been somebody else's and you responded. But back to while you're answering, Benjamin, if you're still on, that wasn't me. Okay, that's fair. So, and I don't even know where I was going with that, to be honest with you, Benjamin. But I was talking about being able to communicate better. So once you learn how to communicate better, then you'll actually be able to develop your relationships better. So back to Derek with drywall and electrical. Now I'm going to pick electrical, Derek, because that's just going to be easier. You can give pricing on electrical jobs over the phone. It's very easy to do. So here's an example. You call, I'm just pretending I'm an electrical contractor. You call me and say, hey, I want to get somebody out here to give me a free estimate on swapping out a panel, doing a panel swap out. I got 16 amp service. I want to upgrade it to 100 amp. Now, I'm assuming, you've been in business for a long, long time, Derek. I'm assuming that you probably have done enough panel changes over the years to know worst case scenario, best case scenario. Worst case scenario, everything is jacked up and you got to do all this stuff. It might be $4,000, and I'm just making up numbers here. So don't start telling me that those numbers aren't right and all that crap. The numbers don't matter. Worst case scenario, it might be 4,000, and best case scenario, everything goes right, it might be 1,800. I'm just making up numbers. So if someone calls and says, I want to get an estimate on a panel change out, the very simple thing you can do is just have them send a couple quick pictures. If they send a couple quick pictures of the panel and like in the room that they're in, that's going to give you enough information right then. Like you're going to be able to see like, oh, this is in a basement and all the wires above it are exposed. Well, hell, that's going to make things a lot easier. Or it's in a garage that's finished out with drywall and you have no access to any wires. That's going to make things a little bit more difficult, right? So just that picture alone is going to give me enough information to maybe narrow it down a little bit. Maybe you know that if it's an open basement, all the wires are exposed, then probably not going to fall on the $4,000 side of it. It's probably going to be closer to like, $2,500, $3,000. So you could effectively on a phone call tell someone, Derek, thanks for the pictures you sent. Now I'm condensing this down into just the part about pricing. So there's a way longer conversation that has to be had. But you're like, hey, can I get a price on a panel change out? And I'm going to say, yeah, I can. Here, thanks for the pictures. Based on these pictures and my experience, on the high end, you could be looking at around $3,500, and on the low end, around $2,000. How, is that what you're looking for, or how does that sound? Something like that, right? And now the customer who wanted a price right away, they now have that price. Do they have the exact price? No, they don't. They don't have an exact price. That's not the purpose of it. The purpose of me giving my price is to get their price, because in their mind, they have a price. Or maybe they have no idea what the price is, and now they're just trying to see what it's going to cost to see if it's even feasible. They may have thought that they could get a whole panel change out for $600. it doesn't matter how they came up with that. If they believe that, they could get a panel change out for $600, and then now I just told them, 3,500 to 2,000 or whatever it was, that's like, 4 times, 5 times more than what I thought. Now it's like, well, even if it's $2,000, I can't afford that, or I don't want to spend that much money. It's not worth it to me to spend that much money. So I've now effectively just eliminated that customer as a potential client. Now, if they had in their mind that it was going to be somewhere, between $2,000 and $2,500, now we're in that range. Now we're in the ballpark. I sit on the low end $2,000, on the high end 3,500. We're now in that ballpark. Now we can start to play ball, right? Now it's no longer a time waster. It's no longer me going out to their house and spending 3 hours driving out there and meeting with them and all this stuff, just to find out that it's not even in their, it's not even in the ballpark. So you can pre-qualify people that way. But if like you can set up pricing on the spot, like you can set that up. That's not very hard either. You just factor in your worst case scenarios into your pricing. And so you can still give someone a range even on the spot. Like let's say you told them 3,500 to 2,000 on the phone. You go out there to give them a firm price, and you get out there, you could still say, well, I won't know if I have to replace any of these breakers until I start, doing the work. So it's probably going to be somewhere between 2,500 and 2,250, right? Now I'm narrowing it down to like a $250 range. Most people would be okay with that, based on the unknowns of you may have to replace some breakers or something like that, right? So that part just comes down to setting up a price sheet essentially. And for you, like an electrical and even like with drywall, that is very easy to do. Like you can very easily create a price sheet and just give out prices right on the spot. Now, if you're doing like remodeling, or you're doing, bigger jobs that are very complex, that can be more difficult to give pricing on the spot. Now, we did remodeling in my business, and so I would not give pricing on the spot. But what I would do is give them ballparks on the phone, and if it was in their ballpark, they would pay me a consultation. I would go out there, I would, get all the information, go over everything with them. And then I would go back to my office, and then I would put the actual estimate together, a firm price estimate. That's how I did it. And that's just because with remodeling, there's so many variables that it's very difficult. It's still possible, but it's a lot more difficult. So Ramert, it depends on the price. Most of the jobs that I did were bathroom remodels. And so my default price was $250 to go out and do a consultation. Now, I've also done projects where I charge $500 to go out and do a consultation because it was further away and I didn't really want to drive that far. I have clients that have charged as much as $2,500 for a consultation. So it really depends on your industry, your price points, your customer base, all that stuff, right? Service-based businesses, like Derek, who's an electrician, that's going to be a little bit different. Like you can still do it. I have clients, electrical clients that have done this, electricians that have done this, but it's a little bit more difficult if someone needs a receptacle installed. Like you're not going to charge them a consultation to go out there. You're just going to schedule the job. You're going to give them a ballpark, and then you're going to schedule the job. And then if you show up and it's like not even remotely close to what it is, then you're going to be like, hey, that can't do this job for that price. But that doesn't happen very often. That type of stuff doesn't happen very often. We like to think it does, and so that's what we use as the filter of what we look through all jobs. See, most of the objections we get, most of the problems that we have are not normal, meaning they don't happen on most jobs, but we use the exception as the filter by which we look through all other jobs, and that only hurts us, right? So yeah, minimum 2-hour charge for small stuff, 100% on that. Did I miss any other questions that came in? Clifford said, how much does this cost? How much does it cost? What are you talking about, Clifford? I'm sorry, I missed that. I didn't see what you were asking. on how much does it cost? Are you talking about my my sales accelerator program? And I don't know why, but for some reason, I have my other account pulled up on the desktop, and I have my TikTok on my phone, and the questions that are coming in are not, well, I'm not even on the right one. No wonder. What the? Oh man, it's one of those days. I wasn't even watching the right live on my computer. I was watching some other random live, looking at the questions, thinking it was mine. Okay. I told you I'm like have low blood sugar or something going on, something crazy going on. For a 1 hour consultation, it just depends on the job, right? It just depends. Like the $500 one that I charged, that took me. It was about a 40-minute drive one way. I was there about an hour and a half, another 40-minute drive, plus doing the estimate. I probably had about 5 to 6 hours total in that estimate, and that's why I charge $500. If I go out and do an estimate, I'm going to come out ahead. If they don't hire me, I'm coming out ahead. So, what is going on here? I don't understand what's going on the computer. You're having a good day as well, having a day as well in the hospital. I hope you get to film, but I hope you're not in the hospital because you're sick or something. But what other questions do you have, guys, for me? What other objections? I want to make this informational and valuable for you guys. So throw out your objections that you struggle with, or anything in the sales process. It doesn't matter what it is. Anything that you struggle with or want to have more help with in your sales process, throw it in the comments, and I'll definitely respond and give you some feedback on that. Like I said, I want to provide value for you guys while I take a drink. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with the website. The comments are not lining up with my video. Weird. So let's talk about, while we wait for some other, your price is 2 to 3 times more expensive. Yeah, that's a good one. So that one, I can't see who you are. Your name's not showing up. Whoever said that 2 to 3 times more expensive. That's going to depend a little bit on the context of the conversation. So it's not just like a universal say this and it's going to work every time. It really helps to know what the conversation is, what the job is. In other words, if it's if it's cleaning gutters, and I'm at and I'm charging $250, and the other guy is at $50, well, like that's a no-brainer. But if it's like a kitchen remodel, and I'm at $80,000, and the other guy's at $30,000, well, that's a pretty big difference, right? So it does depend on the size of the project and what it actually is. But your price is 2 to 3 times more expensive. My response is going to be somewhere along the lines of, did you say 2 to 3 times more expensive? Or just 2 to 3 times more expensive, and then a little inflection on the end, and I shut my mouth. Because I want more information. I want them to spill more beans. Yeah. We got an estimate from another contractor, and he told us, he could do it for $30,000. You're telling us $60,000. And then I'm going to go into like, man, that's a big difference. Like, how can they do it for that much? So what I'm doing there is I'm actually playing Columbo. You guys ever watched the TV show Columbo? It's an older show. Columbo was a police detective, and he was really good at acting dumb and doing it and asking questions in a way that would get the person to tell on themselves, right? Like get them to spill the beans, if you will. That's kind of what you're doing. You want them to come to their own conclusion. See, people are more likely to accept a reality that they come into their own conclusion or accept the fact. If I'm truly 2 to 3 times more expensive, there's something off on there. It's very unlikely that I'm at 60,000 and the other guy's at 30,000 and we're bidding the exact same job, the exact same line items and everything. Like that's too much of a difference. It would be, maybe if it was a $30,000 job, one guy's at 30 and I'm at 40, $10,000 more, I could possibly see that as just a pure profit play. But if you're like $30,000-$40,000 difference, there's probably something missing there. And so what I want to do is I want them to think about, well, I don't know, like what are they missing? I mean, that's a big deal. $30,000 difference. That's a big deal, right? So I'm trying to get them to figure it out on their own. Because if they figure it out on their own, they're going to believe their own thoughts, right? It's not me trying to convince somebody to hire. And I've said this before, but your job is not to convince people to hire you or pay for your service. Your job is to persuade them. And those are two totally different things. See, convincing is when I get you to buy for my benefit. You buy my product, I benefit financially. Maybe you don't even need my product. Maybe it's not the right product that's going to solve your problem. So if I convince you to buy my product, I win out, you lose. But if I persuade you to buy the product for your benefit, because it truly will benefit you, that's different. Yes, I still win financially, but you're going to win because it's the right product for you. And so persuading someone is getting them to decide on their own that it's the best choice for them. Convincing someone is convincing them that it's the best choice for them, even though it really isn't, and I'm the one doing the convincing. They're very subtle, but they're two totally different things. So Facebook user, I do lawn care, leaf cleanups, and I've been getting rejected a ton this year. Been quoting between $750, $1,200 for our cleanups and getting told we're too expensive for their budget. So this is a great question here, because there's two different things that can be happening. One is you simply have the wrong clients, right? So sometimes no matter what you do, no matter what sales tactics you use, no matter how convincing or persuasive you are, you just simply have the wrong clients. And that's the end of it. Like, that is a legitimate reason. However, assuming that you don't have the wrong clients, meaning that you have the right demographic and you're getting the right clients, they're just telling you you're too expensive. I need to do some more information digging to figure out how that is. So a lot of that is dependent upon how you give the information. See, a lot of guys, especially in like that type of business where you're doing, lawn care, like service type work, like Derek was saying earlier with electrical, when you're doing quote service work, which is usually lower priced jobs, a lot of times we tend to become order takers. And so we just take orders by giving prices, and then the person says yes, and then we take their order. Even if you're doing sales, like service work sales, you still need to be a good salesman. And Jacob, yes, I do sales coaching. Yes. I just launched a new program this past week called the Sales Accelerator, which is focused 100% on sales. So if you're interested in that, you can go and click on my profile and get some more information on that. So you don't want to be an order taker, right? So you need to be a conversationalist. You need to be invested in them. And so those are two different things. So if you're just an order taker, you're going to get pushback on price because you now become a commodity. See, if I go to Starbucks and get a coffee, say what you want about Starbucks. I do like Starbucks. I mean, I'll just admit it. I like Starbucks. and it's too expensive. It's really, the amount of money I spend on Starbucks coffee is ridiculous, right? It's just my vice. But if I am, I go pay $5 to $6 for a cup of coffee when, like, within 2 blocks, this is not an exaggeration, within 2 blocks of where Starbucks is, there's a Dunkin' Donuts and there's a McDonald's that I could get coffee from. There's actually three. There's another donut shop called Donut Bank. So within 2 blocks, there's two donut shops and a McDonald's and a Starbucks. Yet I always go to Starbucks to get coffee. Why is that? It's, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not because it's cheaper. It's because of the flavor or the quality of the coffee, if you want to call it that. Like, I just really like that coffee. But whenever you just become an order taker, you're basically the Dunkin' Donuts across the street that I never go to, because you're just taking orders. You become a commodity. But if you were offering something that nobody else offered, maybe you had a unique flavor that nobody else offers that I really like, now you separate yourself from everyone else. And now I'm going to come to you because you offer something that no one else has. And so there's a little bit, I mean, I don't want to go down a rabbit hole of like becoming a commodity, but when you compete on price alone, you become a commodity. You become the Starbucks or the Dunkin' Donuts or the McDonald's or whatever, right? People go to Starbucks because they like Starbucks. I drive right by McDonald's. I drive right by Donut Bank. I drive right by Dunkin' Donuts to get my Starbucks in the morning because that's what I want. And so if you're trying to compete, right, you have to offer something different. There was a bunch of stuff that came in here, and I don't want to miss anything. Got to bail. No problem, Benjamin. Thanks for jumping on here. I don't want to lower my price, which is what I'm feeling like I may have to do in order to fill. No, you don't need to lower your price. You need to offer more value. I don't know who you are on Facebook because I don't see your name, but you don't want to lower your price. That's the last thing you want to do. When you guys lower your price, you are on a race to going out of business. I don't know who you are. I can't see your name, but I can pretty much tell you're probably even too cheap where you're at. Like, you probably need to raise your price. And so lowering your price is not going to help you at all. It's going to hurt you. Now, that being said, fully aware of the economy and where we're potentially heading down, in lieu of a recession, and I hate using that word, but things will get tighter. People will hold their money closer. And so that's a strategy within a problem. So am I saying that you should never have to lower your price? I'm not saying you should never have to. You may have to if it comes down to staying in business, like putting food on your table. But lowering your price simply to get jobs, that could just easily be a sales problem, right? I mean, that could easily be just a sales problem. That could be a problem that I could fix in probably 3 weeks inside the sales accelerator, like totally change that whole thing around and give you the results that you're looking for. And Rambert, yeah, some people say we already are in a recession, and that may be true. I typically don't focus on that, and I don't want to focus on that. I'm just saying that if we truly are in a full-blown recession like 2008, 2009, I started my business in 2009. Everybody else was leaving because there was no business. I came in because there was a vacuum created. And so opportunity was happening. And so was it hard? Yeah, it was really freaking hard to grow a business in 2009. But there's also opportunity there. And so you have to position yourself within that quote unquote recession differently than you would in how it's been the last 2 years, where it's been gangbusters. The last 2 years, I mean, you just throw a magnet on your door and your phone rings off the hook, right? That's changing. It's been too easy. The last 2 years have been way too freaking easy for contractors. Most of the guys that started in the last 2 years, if we go into a true 2008, 2009 recession, you are going to be rudely awakened as to how hard it really is, right? So that's not the scare tactic. I don't want to go down that road. I'm just saying, like, you need to be good at sales if you want to make money. You need to be really good at sales if you want to make money in a recession. So you shouldn't lower your price. I gave a customer a price for let's call it $5,200 for a hot tub wiring, sub panel out to a shed, and a Tesla charger. They came back to me today and said they have competitive quotes and asked if I could do it for $4,000. It's funny, I'm laughing because I just did a video on this like 30 minutes ago. I probably could, but don't know the best way to combat this price rejection. So this is gold. I don't know who you are. Again, I don't know who you are because I can't see your name on Facebook, or maybe you're on Facebook. This is gold, guys. When you have a customer that comes to you and says, I have another quote that's cheaper, they've already given you a ton of information that you're looking over, that you're bypassing. If it was truly about price, that customer would have just hired the other contractor and you probably would have never heard back from them, right? The fact that they've come back to you and told you that they have a lower price, they're actually telling you subconsciously, subliminally, that they want you to do the work, but they want you to be closer in price to the other guy, meaning there's something about the other person that they don't like. They like you more. So the fact that they've come back to you and asked you to lower your price means that they really want you to do the work. That's a good thing. So that's a good thing. Knowing that, the response to them, and guys, one of the things that we do wrong is we try to communicate, we try to have conversations about money or about problems or issues via text. And I mean written word, like email and text or messenger. When you're talking about money, when you're talking about very important things, it has to take place over a phone call or in person. It has to, because there's tonality that comes into play here. There is, expressions. I can't put into words if I want to do an inflection on something. If I want to label or mirror something and I add an inflection, I can't do that on a text. So if I'm talking to this guy here who says, another guy's in it for $4,000, if he says, can you match their price? Now, if he's asking you directly, can you match their price? The response is, let's say his name is Dave. Dave, I really wish that I could match that price or even come close. But if I was able to do that, wouldn't that mean I was overcharging you to begin with? And then you shut your mouth. And this is where tonality is super critical. Wouldn't that mean I was overcharging you to begin with? And they have to think about that. Now, this is where the persuasion comes in. Well, yeah, that would, if he could lower his price, then he was overcharging me. So if he's not overcharging me, then that's what he charges. And he's telling, so why is there a price difference? Why is there $1,200 difference in price? I don't understand that. Well, he may say, well, okay, I understand, but I just don't understand how there's a $1,200 difference. And your response to something like that would be, well, I can't really speak for the other person because I don't know how they bid the job. But what I can tell you is that I personally, there's no way I could do the job for $4,000. Is that going to be a deal breaker? And you just simply stand your ground. I know there's no way I could do it for $4,000. Is that going to be a deal breaker? And they may say, yeah, that's a deal breaker. It's $1,200 difference. And you may say something like, I totally understand and respect that. What's the worst thing that could happen? And you shut your mouth. Now, what did I just do again? I just put doubt in their mind again. I don't know. What is the worst thing that can happen? Well, I guess maybe my house could burn down. I didn't say, well, go hire the cheaper contractor and don't call me when your house burns down because it's going to be 3 times the cost. No, I didn't. That's ego. That's our ego getting in the way. Remove the ego and simply say, Dave, if they're doing the exact same thing that I'm doing and they can do it for $1,200 cheaper than I can, I would take that deal. What's the worst thing that can happen? And I'm going to say it just like that. I'm basically telling them to hire the other contractor. If you can do it for $1,200 cheaper, that's a pretty good deal. What's the worst thing that could happen? They have to think about it. What is the worst thing that can happen? You have to be 100% okay with giving jobs away, right? This is not sales, and the sales that I teach is not like used car sales, high pressure closing, say the magic words and they become a zombie. Okay, I must hire you. I must pay for you. No, that's not what this is about. This is about having honest, real human connection on an emotional level and doing it in a way that they basically feel obligated to hire you because they have such a connection with you that they feel bad turning you down. You want them to like almost be upset that they have to hire the cheaper person, because they really wanted to hire you. Like that's what this is about. And they may not hire you. They may hire the other guy, and they could have a perfectly normal experience and everything was great. They may hire the other guy and have a terrible experience and they're calling you back to fix it. We can't control what our customers do, right? We can only control how we run our business. And if you start acting like a real professional where you know your numbers and you know your value, people will actually pick up on that. And they'll start to say internally, this guy's different. There's something different about this contractor. The other guy just came right on out and gave us an estimate and said he could start it in 3 days. You're telling me, you had a process, you asked these really good questions that I never even thought about. I like you a lot more. You're telling me it's $1,200 more and you can't even get to it for 2 weeks. Something's not computing here. And there's a, comeback of the movie Short Circuit from 1986. Johnny Five does not compute, right? You want your customers to be like Johnny Five, does not compute. You want them to have confusion if they're looking at someone else. If you're just talking to you, obviously you don't want them to have confusion. But if they're comparing you to another contractor, you want them to have confusion as to why there's a price difference. You don't. Again, it's not about manipulating people. That's not what this is about, right? People know professionals. People can sense it. You can sense it. You've probably went to get a haircut. You've went to a doctor. You've went somewhere where you went to an appointment, and you could just tell that like this person was new. It could even be the restaurant. You go to the restaurant, and there's a young teenage girl working at at Burger King or whatever. And she's just like struggling with the register and like, oh, could you say that again? Like you just tell without saying anything, without them saying anything, you can just tell that this person's new or that they're struggling or that they're not very competent with their job, right? Throw a 1 in the chat if you know what I'm talking about. If you know what I'm talking about or you've experienced dealing with someone who was either brand new or was incompetent and you could just sense or tell that they were incompetent or that they were new, right? I see a hell yes, a couple different things. Your customers can sense that on the phone. They can sense it on the phone when you get upset. They can sense it on the phone when you go on the defensive. We all sense that. Now, conversely to the incompetent worker, we've all probably experienced going somewhere, a doctor, somewhere, a sports place, whatever, and you deal with someone and you're like, holy crap, this guy's got his shit together. Like this dude's a professional. This person knows what they're doing. Like he's probably freaking expensive based on how good he is. Throw a 2 in the chat if you've ever experienced that, the other side, where you can just tell this person really knows what the hell they're doing and they're very good at their job. If you've ever experienced that, throw a 2 in the chat and let me know. I'm sure most of us would probably have experienced that. And while we're waiting, I see a couple 2s come in. Yeah, and Ramert says 2, and that's who I hire. That's exactly right. You want to be the two. You want to be the competent professional who knows their value. And if someone wants to hire a cheaper person that because it's just about price, you didn't lose that job. By the way, guys, you don't lose jobs. I don't know if you know this or not. You never lose, quote unquote, lose jobs. You can't lose something you never had in the first place, right? That's a totally different way of looking at stuff. If you had a marble, if your mom gave you a marble for your birthday and you were outside playing with your marble and you lost it in the grass, then yes, you truly lost it. But if someone calls you and wants you to hire, wants you to give an estimate on a job, and then they end up hiring another contractor, you never had that job. It was never yours to lose. So you're not losing jobs. You're simply eliminating those. And the game of sales is get rid of all the no's to get to the yeses. It's purely a numbers game, right? So if you know, and this is, by the way, this is why you should track your numbers. You should 100% track your sales and leads. You should know in your business what your closing rate percentage is. You should know how many leads you need to get in order to get a sale. So if you know that you have a 20% close rate, then you're going to close 2 out of 10 leads. So if you get 10 leads that come in and you get 6 no's in a row, that's good news, right? Because you only have 4 more calls left and you're probably going to win 50% of those. So just because someone calls you does not mean they're a good lead. Doesn't even mean they're a good client. That's the pre-qualification process. That's why we pre-qualify them over the phone first, so you don't waste your time on the no's and the never wills, because some of those people are never wills. They will never hire you ever, no matter what, because they just need a third estimate for their insurance company. They just need an estimate to turn into, somebody else who's going to, for their brother. Their brother's going to do the work, but he doesn't know what it's going to cost. So they hire, they call you to get an estimate so that they can go back to their brother and say, this is what it's going to cost. This is how much material you're going to have. Sometimes that's why they want you to break out the price, labor and materials. It's not because they're going to compare you to another estimate. They're literally going to take your material list and go do the job themselves. You just did their work for them, right? All people do these things. And so your job is to pre-qualify those people. So the people that are willing to pay you money are the ones who are dead serious about hiring you, right? If you and I have a great conversation about your project, and I ask you questions about your project, and I tell you on the call what this project's going to cost, and everything is good to go, and then I ask you, John, what? After I've given the price and the price is good and everything's good, I say, well, John, what do you think we should do next? And John's going to say, well, I think we need to get on your schedule. Awesome. You didn't even have to sell anything. John just told you what we want to do. Or John may say, well, I think we need some more information, before we can move forward. Can you come out and give us an estimate? Absolutely, John. I'd love to come out there and meet with you and Cindy and talk to you about your project and give you a firm price estimate. Now, but just so you know, the ballpark estimate that I already gave you on the phone today, today is pretty close to where we're at. So if I come out there and I meet with you guys, I do have a consultation charge. It's $250. And that's to come out there and give you that firm price estimate. Is that going to be okay? Right now, typically I wouldn't ask if that's going to be okay. That was kind of a Freudian slip. I don't even know why I said that, because I typically wouldn't ask if that's going to be okay. I would say that as a matter of fact. And now, John, I can come out there and give you an estimate. It's going to be $250 to come out there and meet with you and Cindy and give you that firm price, and we'll go over all your questions, and I can bring out some samples with me and blah 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 blah. I'll just send you, when we get off the phone here, I'll send you over the invoice. I'll just need you to pay that $250 up front, and then once I receive that, I'll send you a link to schedule the on-site visit, and then we can get that done for you. And then I may shut my mouth, and they may be like, well, wait a minute, you charge to come out here? Well, it's only for the consultation. If you decide to move forward with us, that just gets credited to the job, and you get that money back. Oh, okay. So as long as we hire you, that gets applied. Yeah, 100% of that goes towards the final invoice. Okay. Well, yeah, I think that's reasonable. Let's do that. Or they may say, I've never heard of that before. I've never heard of someone charging for an estimate. I mean, what if you come out here, you told me the price was somewhere between, $15 and $10,000. What if you come out here and then you tell me it's going to be $20,000 and we can't afford that, and then I'm out $250? I can definitely see where that would be a concern of yours, Sarah. Two things. One, I'm not in the consultation business, so I really don't want your $250. I want the $10,000 project. So I wouldn't do that, nor would I have as many reviews and as much success as I've had by treating clients like that. Two, if that were to happen, if I were to come out there and when I get there, it does turn out to be a $20,000 job, I'll just give you the money back. I'll give you the $250 back. How does that sound? Right now, I just handled that objection. Like I don't want to. What if I don't? What if you're just trying to jack me up? So a lot of this is handling the concerns that people have, but you have to ask the right questions to find out what the true concern is. I don't know who you are, Facebook user, but I appreciate it. He said that reply to that objection is gold. Most of the objections that we have are simply finding out what the true issue is, right? Like I said earlier, if you were on the call, they give us surface level first, and then we got to peel back the layers like an onion to find out what the true objection is. They may not have a problem with paying $250, like that may not be a problem at all, but they may have a problem where they've paid other contractor to come out and give them an estimate, and he ended up charging them twice as much as what he told them on the phone. Right now, they've had a bad experience, and so they register that in their head as like all contractors who charge a consultation are scam artists. I have to get through that. I have to break through that belief, and that may or may not be true. I'm just saying I got to find out what that is. See, we usually react to the surface level, and we react out of ego, because, and this is especially true if we've already went out to their house and done an estimate, and then they tell us they hired another contractor because it's cheaper. Then we go like freaking ballistic ape shit and start cussing out customers, and all of them are cheap and everybody wants a deal and blah, 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 blah. That's not true at all. That's not true. By the way, whatever you believe, whatever you tell yourself is what will come true. So if you keep telling yourself that customers are cheap and nobody wants to pay for quality, then your subconscious will figure out a way to sabotage yourself to make that true. So whatever you believe to be true is true. It's like Henry Ford said, if you think you can or can't, you're correct. And that is 100% true. So a lot of this stuff is mindset. And that's one of the things, one of the elements in the Profit Club, which is that's my premium coaching program. That's encompasses all about business. The very first thing that we do in the Profit Club is like reprogram your brain, like start removing limited beliefs. Like that's the very first thing, because if you build new skill sets on top of a limiting belief, your limiting belief will sabotage all your new skills as well. So you have to have the right belief system in order for it to work. Jared, can you go over the qualifying phone call? It's a long process, man. Like I don't know if there's something specifically that you're asking me, but the actual process is what we train for. That's what I train for in my sales accelerator. It's not something you can just apply tomorrow. It does require some skill. I mean, practice. It requires some practice. It's like riding a bicycle. You didn't just learn how to ride a bicycle the first time, right? It took you a few tries. You had to practice, and then you got a little bit better. Then you could stay. Then you could ride the bike, but you didn't know how to stop. Then you worked on how to stop, and then you worked on how to ride without no hands. And then you got to the point to where you're riding wheelies, doing like, brake stops in front of your friends. It's cool. Your wheel slide sideways. Like you have to build on this. You have to practice it and get better over and over. Let me make sure I didn't miss any questions here before we're getting to the end here. I'm selling premium prices, but work sometimes is par. Well, why is your work subpar, Gabriel? Michael says, true, my business is me being sold and I'm doing the work. I feel I'm good at sales, but not so great on work. Any advice? I haven't found right help. Go listen, Gabriel, go listen to my podcast that dropped today. It literally dropped today. You can find it on all the podcast platforms. It's literally my username, Hammer and Grind Podcast. I interviewed a guy named Nathan France. He's a very successful contractor and entrepreneur. And that whole podcast was about recruiting. It's about how to find top talent, how to recruit and things like that. Go listen to that podcast. It's number 90, episode number 90. It should give you a pretty good idea of where to start. There's also another podcast that I did on how to hire winners. That's episode 56. So if you go listen to episode 56 and episode 90, those two episodes will really set a good foundation for you on hiring, like where to hire. Okay. Michael says, going to be hard, but people still need work done and just show that what they're paying for. Okay, I think we got back to yeah, okay. Let them talk most and tune in to what they're concerned about, make them feel comfortable. Yeah, Plumber Man. So have you ever worked on idea of coding in thirds or arc? Michael, I'm not sure what you're asking me. Have you ever worked on an idea of coding in thirds? I'm sure it's probably a typo. Costing in thirds? I don't know, I'm still not tracking with you, man. Have you ever worked on an idea of costing in thirds for our kind of work? Is that what you're asking? Ian, if you go just on there's lots of ways. You can go to my website. You can go to hammerandgrind.com, and in the corner there'll be a button that says podcast. You can listen on the website. You can go to any podcast player, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iTunes. There's like 15 different podcast players out there, and you can search for Hammer and Grind Podcast and find it there. I mean, you can find it just about anywhere. You could even just go on Google and search for Hammer and Grind Podcast and probably find it. Third labor, third materials, third profit. No, I don't do that because that would cheat. That would cheat me. So we do 50%. 50% on labor, 50% on materials. So it gives you more profit. I'm all about making more profit. I think most of us would want to make more profit. By the way, when you become really good at sales, you're actually able to sell jobs at a higher profit margin. And you not only can you sell them at a higher profit margin, you can still sell them over the phone. I mean, people don't believe this when I tell them, but I have clients that have sold $100,000 jobs over the phone. And what I mean by over the phone is they've done the whole pre-qualification. They gave ballparks. They've come up with a budget, and then they went out to their house. The contractor went out to their house, collected a deposit on that first initial visit, and got them on the schedule. Like that's selling the $100,000 job over the phone. So it's possible. I mean, that's for the more advanced people, but that's what you can do. You can sell jobs of any value over. It's actually harder to sell service work, like cheap service work, than it is to sell $50,000, $60,000, $100,000 jobs over the phone. It's the complete opposite of what you may think it is. So Ian, great question. The Profit Club is that's my big coaching group, and that is that's a one-time charge. That there's no monthly dues. You just pay one time, and then you have access to all the training, all the weekly coaching calls, everything. That's my like premium coaching program, if you want to call it that. And it's expensive. Like, I'm not gonna lie, it's a lot of freaking money. No, why would I charge a lot of money for a program? Somebody throw it in the comments. Why would I charge a lot of money for a coaching program? Just, you tell me. What would be the reason that I would charge an absorbent amount of money for a coaching program? Ramit says value and it works. Right. Probably because I have proof that it works, right? And I do have proof, by the way. And Luke's on the Facebook. He's watching live with me. Luke's one of my clients, and he's done really well. The reason why I charge so much is because there's an extreme amount of value there. The cost of the Profit Club is $6,500. It's a one-time charge of $6,500. The Sales Accelerator, that is essentially, I took the sales portion out of the Profit Club, and I've created a standalone sales-only program that is strictly sales. We don't talk about anything else. That is a much more affordable, and I did that on purpose to help contractors. So right now, it's $600 to essentially buy the course, and you get 2 months of free training with that, our free private group and our coaching calls. You get 2 months of that for free. And then if you want to stay in longer than 2 months, it's $99 per month after that, and you can cancel anytime. So that's the sales only, the Sales Accelerator. It's designed to accelerate your sales, hence the name. I know it's crazy, but it's very affordable. It's $300. I'm sorry, I told you that wrong. It's $600 and includes 2 months of the free coaching and all that. And then it's $99 a month after that. So one last question, then I got to go, guys. Michael says, how do you work out over the phone estimates? Because in my head, every job is totally different. Michael, you may have missed early on when Derek was asking me. It's very simple. What do you do, by the way, Michael? What trade are you in? That would be helpful if I knew what trade you're in. And by the way, Luke, who's on the Facebook group, he paid it used to be $5,000. It's now $6,500. Luke joined the Profit Club, paid the $5,000, and he'll tell you. Matter of fact, if you're interested in the Sales Accelerator, go to contractorsalesaccelerator.com, or just go click on my name and click on the link. There's a link there. If you go to that website, contractorsalesaccelerator.com, Luke, who's on the Facebook group, his testimonial is at the bottom of that page, and he saved 2.5 months per year by eliminating free estimates. He's a landscape contractor, and Michael, perfect pairing. You do fencing and landscaping. Luke, who I'm talking about, is a landscape contractor. He does both, lawn service as well as full-blown landscaping. And by utilizing the Profit Sales System, which is what we teach, he saved over 2.5 months per year of his time. 2.5 months out of the year saved by not doing free estimates anymore. If that's not a testimonial, I don't know what is. Because most of us are out running around spending 20 hours a week doing free estimates for people that are never going to hire us. So to landscaping, this is the last question, and I do have to go, guys. We're going long, but I want to help you out here. You've probably done a job. So let's pick a landscape install, right? Let's just use that as an example. Somebody wants a new planter in the front of their house. It's a nice house, and they want to do a job that you say is that you know it to be like $7,000. Like this, the job they want is going to cost $7,000. You've probably done enough jobs to know roughly that worst case scenario, this might be a $10,000 job. Best case scenario, it might be a $6,500 job. Like, you've probably done enough jobs that have that level of knowledge, I'm assuming. And so when you're talking to someone, if you know, like, let's say after the fact, you go out and you do an estimate and it's like, oh, the estimate's $7,000. That's literally what it is. But you don't know that yet. You could tell someone on a phone, I could say, hey, Michael, and this is not, I mean, I'm shortcutting this a lot, by the way, but it's Michael, if we come out there and we do a really nice, almost like a home and garden TV cover, like something that you would want to take a picture of, throw it on the cover of home and garden TV. I mean, we could be talking about a $15,000 project. And then I may shut my mouth and see what they say. They may say, oh, no, we don't want anything that crazy. That's like, we just want very simple. Oh, that's, totally understand that. If we come in there and we're really conservative and we just like get the bare essentials, it's still going to be a nice project, but there's no frills, nothing, really nice, like over the top. We could probably get that in there for around, $7,000. Is that even in your ballpark, or is that what you guys were thinking? And then they're going to tell you, this is the whole beauty of the process. They will literally tell you how much money they were thinking. Why? Because you've already laid all in their mind. You've already laid all of the cards on the table. You've already given away all of your cards. You've shown them how much the price is. You can't come back later on and say, oh, no. I actually meant it was 10,000. You've already told them, like, and this is totally subconscious, guys. They now feel comfortable enough to tell you, yeah, that's kind of what we were thinking. We were thinking it was going to be around, $7,000-8,000. Or, yeah, I mean, our budget was right around 10 grand. So if we can meet somewhere around 10 grand, we're good. Right? Or, wow, that's even the low end. Like we didn't think it was going to be more than $4,000. So yeah, you do have to know your numbers. You do. But even that, Michael, like even if you don't know your numbers 100%, like you're not that confident, you can still use the ballpark. It's very easy to do. The purpose of the ballpark is not to give them an exact price, right? I'm not on there going, well, yeah, Michael, this project's, I can come out there and do that project. It's going to be $10,947.16. Like that is not the purpose of that. The purpose of it is simply to get their budget without asking what their budget is. Because why do people, what's the problem with asking them what their budget? Because they'll freaking lie to you. That's why. What does every customer think is going to happen if they ask you for their budget? And I did this early on. I would ask them for their budget. I would say, yeah, I can come out and give you an estimate on your bathroom. What kind of budget are you looking at? Well, we really don't have a budget. We were kind of hoping you would tell us what it's going to cost. And I would say something like, well, I mean, everybody has a budget. Like if I told you it was going to be $100,000, would you be okay with that? They'd be like, no, heck no. There's no way we'd pay 100. I was like, okay, so everybody's got a number then. And it was just super forced, like, uneasy conversation. And it didn't, I mean, sometimes I would get a number, but then like almost piss off the client because they would I'm forcing them to give me a number. But if you do it the other way around, it takes all of the pressure off of them because clients believe that if they say, well, my budget's $20,000, and in reality, you could do the job for 15. Like if you were to price that job regularly, it would be 15. Clients believe that you would say, oh, well, what a coincidence. This job's going to cost $20,000. And you're just going to max out the money because you're greedy and you want all that extra money. And so you're just going to use all of their budget. That is what clients believe. And so they don't want to tell you. If their true top line budget is 20 grand, they may tell you, well, our budget's 15,000, because they've heard the horror stories of like, well, you got to have an extra 20% because of unknowns and all of the extras. And so they don't want to tell you their top line because then you may max it out. And like, why even deal with all of that silliness? Why not just simply say, we've done projects as much as $20,000 and we've done them as little as $2,000. Can we find a price range in there that works for you. And if they go like, yeah, I'm sure we were thinking like 10,000. So surely, well, 10,000 is a very good budget. Like we can do a lot of stuff with $10,000. It's just a conversation. It's no longer this crazy, uneasy sales tactic, who's going to talk first, all this, like it's none of that stuff. It's just a conversation of general, two people having a conversation. I'm telling you guys, if you learn the sales system, it makes sales so much easier, like 10 times easier. You'll actually start thinking like you're doing something illegal. It's so easy, but you have to practice. You have to be good at it. You can't just watch one video and then become an expert. You do have to put in the practice. And so that's why in my coaching programs, we actually do role play practice with each other. Two contractors get on the phone. One pretends to be the customer. One's the contractor. We actually practice these techniques so we can get really, really good at it. So that when we talk to our live clients, we're just like, it's like butter, just, smooth and silky. We don't want to practice on our real customers. We want to practice before we get there, right? So I hope that was helpful, Michael. Yeah, 100% upfront, right? People welcome transparency, and they love the refreshingness of having a conversation with someone who's actually intelligent and direct and open, right? Like that's just the nature of it. It is, and Michael, I just saw your other comment. It is a pre-qualification process, and part of the pre-qualification is finding their budget, right? So I only covered like 5% of what we do in the Sales Accelerator. So if you guys are interested in that, in the Sales Accelerator or the Profit Club, you can go to hammerandgrind.com, and there's some stuff there. You can sign up. You can join my free Facebook group. I have a free Facebook group called the Contractor Profit Blueprint. You can go there, sign up. That's what the guys are watching on Facebook. They're watching from the Profit Blueprint group. You can go to contractorsalesaccelerator.com, and you can sign up specifically for the Sales Accelerator. You guys on TikTok, you can go right to my profile, wherever, I think it's right above here. You can go right to my face and just click on my face, and there's a bunch of links. All the links to my podcast, email list, everything that I have to offer is in my links on TikTok. And that's the best way to get a hold of me. Or send me a direct message, send me a message on Facebook. I'm very available, guys. If you have any questions, just reach out to me. I'm more than happy to answer any questions you may have about the programs and stuff. So I appreciate you all tuning in. I got to get going. We went way over. That's okay, because it was good stuff. And I appreciate you all. So have a great week. Get out there, kill it, and start implementing some of this stuff in your process. And then let me know how it goes. I want to hear back.